Today is day 4 of Lightroom tips for wedding and portrait photographers. I'm so excited that you're here. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can definitely go back and see the previous videos that we have posted about Lightroom tips and tricks, but you'll also see all of the upcoming videos about Lightroom tips and tricks to make everything go smoothly and quickly for you as you are editing through all of your projects. Today, we are going to be going over the tone curve within Lightroom and why I don't actually use it that often, but we'll be going over what the tone curve is, how to use it, even if you do want to use the tone curve, even though I don't really use the tone curve. Maybe I'm giving you permission to not use the tone curve if you feel like you have to sometimes. But if you want Lightroom to run really quickly, if you want to be able to breeze through photos, review things really quickly, not be lagging between images, I do have a free class for you in the description below. It is 11 crazy easy tricks to make Lightroom run faster today. All these settings that you can do to make Lightroom run faster within 5 to 10 minutes of you tweaking Lightroom. So that is a freebie that you can access down below. It is a class within our course, How to Edit a Wedding and Call a Wedding in 48 Hours. So let's get into the tone curve. So while you have Lightroom open in the Develop module, you'll scroll down past the histogram and the basic portion down to the tone curve. So there are several types of tone curves you can use. This is the basic one here. If you go to the left, this is just showing you highlights, lights, dark shadows. But then you can go over to the different colors. And if you want to see the extremes of what this can do, this is the red to blue scale here. So if you're doing this, oh man, that's a lot of red. If you go into green, this is more, the green and the blue one here are more of what I think of. This one is tint. So this green to magenta scale. And then the blue one is the cool to warm scale for temperature. So I would only really use the tone curve if I was creating a preset for myself where I knew that my base preset, I really liked things cool in, this is the shadows here. Left to right is if you look at here at the histogram, blacks, shadows, exposure, highlights, whites. So I want a little bit of coolness in the shadows there. You'll see it's definitely showing up on his suit there. If I want it to be cool in the highlights, it's popping up there. You'll see that reflected in the histogram over here. So you can definitely do that. I would use that as a way to create your base preset. And then instead of using the tone curve to tweak every single image, I would just use temp and tint. That's just how I go through things really, really quickly. So I don't personally use the tone curve. I've been editing so many photos over the last decade. I've been shooting weddings for 8 years, and I have been a photo editor for 15 plus photographers every year for over 5 years. I've edited hundreds of thousands of photos. And really the only time I've used the tone curve is when it's already in the base preset and we are using that throughout the catalog. So I don't know if you needed permission to not have to use the tone curve, but that's your permission. So if I were to maybe create a really simple preset of the tone curve, let me show you how to do that really, really quickly. I will have another video on this series of how to make a preset, but just if you want to have just a tone curve preset, I created 2 really quickly here. If I wanted to have a muted tone curve, I really wanted the image to look a little bit more muted instead of super contrasty, I could create a tone curve preset like that, where what I've done is you can actually go back in my histogram video, which is the video before this one, where I don't want a pure black point and I don't want a pure white point. I want it to be muted. So I grabbed the, you can actually create as many dots as you want here. So if you go here and go here, you can make this super, detailed here. But let me go back here. I made this little preset here of a muted tone curve. So the intention was I brought the black point up. If you look at the histogram while I do this, you'll see that the black point is just creeping on over. And if I brought it all the way back down, you'll see that this white arrow popped up, meaning that there is a pure black point. So let me press this again, muted. And so now if I wanted a certain image or a certain group of images to be muted, I could use that as a preset. The way that I did that really quickly was I went up to my presets region in my develop module and I pressed the add sign there and I pressed create preset and I only had the tone curve selected there. And I just put muted tone curve and press create. So that means if I want to add just that muted tone curve and I don't want to go in and change all of those things, I've already done that in that little tiny little preset there, and I did that. If I wanted to have a tone curve that had like strong shadows, where there was a pure black point and maybe right here there was like heavier shadows, it was doing that. You can see how the image really starts to change there. If there are a lot of points here, you'll see that as I did that, as I moved this point down, this area of the whites changed there. So I don't really like that, but I can take another point away there and I can bring that down and all of those shadows come out. So anyway, I don't necessarily use the tone curve all that much unless I'm creating, or unless a client of mine who is a photo editing client has it in their base preset that they use all of the time because maybe they prefer muted and muted blacks all of the time. That's just what they go to and that's their base preset. Then I would go and use that in the tone curve, but I am in this area of develop 97% of the time. I really don't make editing complicated for myself, which is what I teach in my course to edit weddings in 48 hours. I've done it for hundreds of thousands of images, and I really don't use the tone curve for bulk editing like that. I would prefer to go over here in the develop module and only stay here. So I can like hover over a number if I really want to fix some of those blacks like that. That's how I address the shadows, the highlights, the blacks, the whites in my images. I would much rather have control up here than trying to go into that tone curve and messing with it all the time. That is my 2 cents. People have different opinions on the tone curve. Hopefully that was helpful in figuring out how to use the tone curve, but you don't need to use the tone curve. Feel free to comment below with any questions that you have about Lightroom. I would be so excited to answer that for you. And again, feel free to go down below in the description box and get my free class on how to make Lightroom faster. I promise it will shave hours and hours off your editing time almost immediately. So grab that below. I can't wait to talk to you in the next video, and I hope this was helpful for you.